For 13 years, I have called New York City my home. I have never been more proud to be a New Yorker. The idea of home that I preconceived before this trip was a tangible location with my family. This trip has illustrated what home is through a myriad of people's voices and stories, which I compiled to create my own definition. Home is a feeling of comfort and awareness of my surroundings, which I could take advantage of. The Field Academy experience has emphasized this in the idea of advocacy. I experienced this in Roxbury, which exposed me to environmental injustice in the world. With this knowledge, I can help my community and the environment that is around me. I commenced my trip in Vermont, Knoll Farm, a serene, sustainable farm with green, soft pasture and white fleece sheep. This was the first home that I had on this trip. The sensation of home at the beginning of this trip was back in New York City. This transition helped me appreciate where I come from. The first few nights were socially awkward for me because I marginalized myself from the group. Back in New York City, I was used to being independent and self-reliant. My idea of a school community was different than the Field Academy, so I learned to be independent in a school where no one was going to help me. My school community shaped me, but the Field Academy has taught me to become more social in my personal life. When interviewing people at the co-housing community, I honed my social skills and personal skills, and I got out of my comfort zone by asking random people to tell me their story. Vermont was where I learned to express my feeling and where I managed to believe in the power of speaking. When I arrived to Boston, I felt more close to home, because after days in the woods and the farm, I was finally in the city. The city of Boston has similar problems as New York City, yet it had a different sense of home. It made me think of all the pollution in the environment, which was not protected by the city. Boston had cleaner streets, cleaner subway cars, and this made me think of what I needed to fix in my city. My time in Jamaica Plains reinforced the experience of living in a community where I felt at home. The ACE tour, led by Olmis Sanchez, taught me about the environmental injustice in Roxbury. Gentrification was omnipresent throughout the tour. It reminded me of my community. Closing of local stores and people losing their jobs was prevalent in Boston and New York City. From that day on, I decided to advocate for myself and my neighbors about unfair decisions in New York. Advocation, mostly Reform and Reimagine, was inculcated to me by the Field Academy through Stephen De Benedictis. I met Stephen at the Alewife Brook in the intersection of 4 different towns: Medford, Cambridge, Arlington, and Brookline. He is currently working on purifying the brook by creating ceramic fish. He embodies the definition of an advocate to me because although he felt like an ordinary citizen, he started his project as a concerned neighbor and advocate for marine life. Now he has managed to put some ceramic fish in the brook to begin his research. This urged me to help my local park by creating awareness of Prospect Park and the pond and the pollution that is killing the fish. In Maine, I learned what a home truly meant through various voices. The prevalent question of home resonated with me during my time in Maine. I never felt homesick that I actually wanted to go back to the city and leave the Field Academy. I learned that home was a feeling, not a location. I had the opportunity to speak with Gene Levine at the Prevost Street organization. He taught me that home for him was at a Salvation Army. I also learned that homeless people can also have home, too, just that is not what society expects it to be. He taught me that home for him was at a Salvation Army, or at the corner intersection in downtown Portland. The sensation of home changed for me, because I had never conceived the idea of homelessness, or how I might have felt. Jim gave me a first-hand point of view of what it felt, which made me question my idea of home in a city and a country. Jim inspired me to become an active member of my community because he advocated for homeless voices for justice. Heather was also an important figure in my field trip because she taught me how to advocate for what was right and what I thought was correct. She taught me the 4 ways that one advocates for one's ideals. The one that stood out to me the most was reform. That's why when I want to go back to New York City, I want to reform for sustainability. Ending this trip will be hard, but in retrospect, I learned to advocate and become a leader. Everything that was taught on this trip brought interest, but what I was really passionate about was environmentalism and history. Going through many different landscapes in New England has made me understand how and why it's important to protect the land. Lobstering in Casco Bay, backpacking in the Green Mountain, composting, in the A store have helped me to learn what I can have, that I can have a voice in politics and get out of my comfort zone.
Woo!